we got a sellout crowd tonight here. Sellout crowd.
Standing room only.
Standing room only. Just the way we like it. Obstructed view. Welcome. Happy to have you. Very much an action-packed presentation. We're testing our skill set tonight in that we're always challenging ourselves to provide as much information as possible, but at the same time not overwhelm too much. So we'll see. We'll see how we do tonight. So as promised, we're going to talk at least briefly about the FAFSA. We're going to go a little bit more on the CSS profile. And then we're also going to do best practices and actually get your eyes on the Common App. And to start all that, we're just going to do kind of a higher level, just a very quick financial aid 101. How does this work? Why does this matter? Because these all tie in together, right? They are all related here. So we will do brief introductions before we get into the content. A couple of housekeeping things first. First, let me put a poll up. You know what, Peggy? I should have put our third question that we always like to ask up and leave it open-ended. But anyways, wait, is this? Are you seeing the poll, Peg? Yeah, I think I have to.
I'm launching it. There we go.
Okay. So tell us if yeah, just take 1 second, answer these questions. What's the graduating class of your high school student? Did I shut it off? I might have shut it off or something. Okay, because nobody's
I launched
Oh, let me relaunch the poll.
All right.
There you go. Okay, so tell us the graduating class of your high school student, and then in terms of your experience with us, are you brand new to us? Have you just been to a few of our events or poked around our software a little bit? Or are you one of our affectionately named by you, or one of our groupies? So either way, welcome. Welcome back, or welcome for our first time. If you're new to us, we are always grateful.
And we got a lot of newbies.
Yeah, that's always exciting for us. So the pressure's on here, Dan and Peggy. We got to bring the A game, and then just put in the chat. Tell us where you are in the country. We are always, or the world for that matter. We always incredibly well represented geographically, so that's fun. It's fun for us to just kind of see where everybody's from, and here we go as usual, all over the place, which is awesome. So I will end the poll here, and thank you for taking a minute to do that. A couple housekeeping things. This is going to be recorded. Everybody will receive the recording either later tonight, no later than tomorrow. So you will get the recording. We love questions. There's 3 of us, so we are going to be working feverishly to answer your questions. Put them in the Q&A, okay, not the chat, because that's where we're going to focus. We want to answer your questions, but put them in the Q&A. Let me also give this disclaimer. We're not going to be able to get to all of them. I guarantee we get to over 100, but there's a lot of you all. If we don't answer your question, please don't take it personal. It is not, we're not ignoring you. And we also might say, or if we don't answer your question, it just means we would need more information. A lot of people tell us, well, we're divorced. Which one of us should complete the FAFSA? How should I value my business? What schools, how should I value my property? We just need more information to answer some of these questions. So again, we are not ignoring you. Okay, without further ado, my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm a founder at College Aid Pro. I love this year. I love every year, but I love this year because the class 2025 will be the 20th class that I'll have guided through this process, shepherded through this process. And that's kind of like how we like to describe ourselves as leaders of this process, right? We want to be a source of truth. It's so confusing. You guys see so much different information. It's hard to know what's what. We stand tall on considering ourselves a source of truth, guiding people through this process. That is what we do. You're in great hands tonight. We're about to prove that. We have the fairy godmother of financial aid, Peggy Keogh. By the way, I'm in the Halloween capital of the world here in Salem, Mass. So if you see some goblins running around back here, that's that.
He gets attacked in the middle of the webinar. We'll take over.
It's just part of the process here. It's part of, and then we have a unicorn down there just outside of Cincinnati in Kentucky, Dan Bizig, and I call him a unicorn because it's very rare that professionals in our space are experts on both the financial side as well as the admissions side. We can more or less count them on one hand for folks that are truly experts in both of those domains. Dan is one of those. So you guys are in excellent hands here, Peggy, but if you want to say hi quick and take us away, we'll dive in.
Yeah, so I'm Peg Keogh, been doing this for quite a while, have a background in the financial industry. I have twins, a boy and a girl. So when they hit high school, I started looking at how does all this stuff work? Not saving for college, but how does it all work? And as we all know, I realized very quickly how crazy complicated it was. And so years ago, I kind of shifted in my profession and just focused on this, started my own business. Long story short, I joined CAP about 3 years ago and met the guys and known them for years, beta tested the software. So I've been around the block. I've been around the block and I've been there with two kids. So it really doesn't have to be as stressful, I think, as it is for a lot of families. Dan's also been through it twice with his kids, so he can speak to that. But that's why we're here. We're really here to educate you along the way. If you're new to us, we try and make it fun because numbers and finances aren't always fun. They're fun for me, but not most people. So that's me. I will let Dan introduce himself real quick, and then we'll get started. And
Yeah,
thanks for
great.
all the questions. We already have 16 questions. I love these kind of audiences.
Oh yeah, it's loading up
But
fast. Yeah, thanks, Peg. Hey, it's great to be with you all tonight. Dan Bissick here. As Matt said, I'm in Cincinnati or close to Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been an independent counselor for 18 years. And prior to that, I was a financial planner for 25. I know I don't look that old, but anyway, just
keep
excited
telling
to be
yourself
here.
that, Dan. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
right. So, but excited to be with you guys tonight to have some fun, talk through some tough stuff, but also to give you some great information. So, without further ado, Matt, hand it back over to you.
All right, let me share my screen here. You want to talk through this? I'll just take this one. As Matt said, he's a co-founder, College A Pro, and this truly is our mission and empowering you to shop smarter for college and educating you and then supporting you one-on-one, and providing the software. Those are all ways that we do that. And it's our mission. It's really why we do what we do every day. There we all are. All right, everyone should have received an email today encouraging you to set up a free MyCap account. MyCap is what we call our software for consumers. We can tell a lot of you already did it, so that's awesome. If you haven't done it, Matt's going to put this link in the chat. Strongly, strongly encourage you to get that done. I mean, some people I know, based on their questions, are already writing in and saying, hey, I think I'm this type of family. They know that because they know what their student aid indexes are. They have good estimates, which is what we provide in there. And then we just provide net costs. We're going to be in there in a little bit and you'll be able to see. But strongly encourage you to get that set up, get your 3 top schools in there, and you'll be off to the races. So click on that and get that done.
And I set it up. So I'm going to do, take 5 minutes to just give you a high level overview of how this financial aid process works and then drill down on a particular case study. And then we'll get into the applications themselves. So at its highest, simplest level, financial aid is any type of discount in which we're not paying the full cost of attendance. So they're full sticker price. And there's 3 broad buckets, right? There's need-based grants. Okay, this is free money that's given based on the family's financial situation. And you're presenting your financial situation via the FAFSA, via the CSS Profile. In some cases, some colleges have their own institutional application. And if a college thinks that based on your resources, you're eligible for need-based financial aid, and there are colleges that provides need-based financial aid, that's when we'll receive need-based grants. The second bucket, also a great bucket because it's free money, okay? This is in some ways the opposite end of the spectrum because this is a college right now, especially class of 2025 families, you are in the weeds in terms of finishing up this crazy college application process. There's going to be some college counselors that get your kids' applications and say, I want this kid on our campus. I don't care how much parent or parents make. We want to give them a financial incentive to come to our school. That's merit-based scholarships. The third bucket, it's our least favorite type of financial aid, but there's still there are still plenty of times at which it makes sense to leverage this in some capacity. And that's called self-help financial aid. honestly, it's basically a sexy term for loans. But again, so long as we complete the FAFSA, we're going to be entitled to some programs in there that can make a lot of sense to leverage again in some capacity. Okay, Peggy. Now, the most common question, okay, or I should say, the most common answer to any question that we get, and this will be the correct answer, will be, it depends on the college. We're going to be on chat tonight saying 100 times, it depends on the college. You have to think of these colleges as private businesses because they are, okay, very successful businesses, I might add, and they each run their businesses differently, right? And we want to find out, how do they run their businesses, okay, the specific colleges that we're applying to. Now, anytime there's a universal rule in this process, we just want to latch onto it and understand it because, again, there's not a ton of them. Right? There's not a ton of them. Fortunately, when it comes to need-based financial aid, every single college uses this equation to determine your student's eligibility for need-based financial aid. And that is the cost of attendance minus the student aid index, or EFC. And if there's a difference between those two figures, that is the amount of financial aid you are potentially eligible for. Okay, let's unpack that just for a second here. Cost of attendance is a sticker price. Now, congratulations to the class of 2025. You're going to be the first class in which there are going to be dozens, with an S, of colleges that are going to be $100,000. Obviously, I say that tongue in cheek. It's freaking bananas. But some of these colleges will have a $100,000 cost of attendance. That's the bad news. The good news is very few people, okay, very percentage-wise, proportionally, pay the sticker price at a college. That is usually a distraction. It is usually the third most important variable for how affordable or not a college is going to be for your family. The two bigger variables here, what's your student aid index? Okay, what is the dollar amount that gets assigned to your student? And this dollar amount comes from the financial aid applications, largely driven by your income and by your assets. If that dollar amount is less than the cost of attendance, now we're eligible for some need-based financial aid. Does that mean when we're going to get it? Now that's when we go back to, well, it depends on the college. Some colleges are incredibly generous with need-based financial aid. Some are on the other end of the spectrum. Most are somewhere in the middle. But that's the basic process, and we're going to show you in a second here. For those of you that already set up your MyCap accounts, you already know your student aid index. You already know what these colleges are actually going to cost you. But we'll look at that in just a second here. Peggy, you can go to the next slide here. Okay, now just by large numbers and just by the fact that I've seen a lot of the zip codes that you all are tuning in from, some of you are just not going to be eligible for need-based financial aid. And there's not a magic wand that I can wave, or Peggy or Dan or anybody can wave to change that. Okay, but that doesn't mean you want to start paying $100,000 a year for college. Or maybe you can, but again, you don't want to be the only ones paying full sticker price. How are you going to get discounts? The number one way is to figure out who's going to give you scholarships. And we're going to talk about exactly how to find out who's going to give your kids scholarships that are also good fits for your kid in just a second here. But a couple things I want to talk through. We already got this question a lot. Why would I complete these applications? I'm not going to be eligible for need-based aid. We have a lot of reasons, and I'll talk through a couple of them in a second. But one of the big ones is some of these colleges require the applications even for you to be considered for merit. Not all of them, but a meaningful amount need you to go through the formality in either to be considered for merit-based scholarships, okay? Not every school offers scholarships, guys. That's another thing that we found is not necessarily common knowledge. There's not one kid on an Ivy... Peg, remind me, where do you go to college again?
Cornell University.
Yeah, so Peggy always likes to brag that she's she's a product.
No, I do not.
Tennis player, athlete, the whole deal. But look, there's nobody that's on the Cornell campus or Princeton or Dartmouth, right, that's there on a scholarship. Nobody at MIT or Amherst or Williams or Middlebury is there on a scholarship. There's about 100 colleges in which scholarships do not exist. So we want to know that, okay? The last bullet point, again, is under this kind of first section here. Apply to competing colleges. This is especially important if you're not eligible for need-based financial aid. Guys, I said at the top, these are businesses. They will compete with one another, okay? So if you want to go to, again, I mentioned I'm in the Boston area. Northeastern University is a very popular school. If you want to go to Northeastern, right, but you hated BU, BU is an incredibly urban campus. Northeastern has a little bit more of that kind of campus quad-like feel. So, and some kids like one and not the other. If you like Northeastern, I'm making you apply to BU even if you hate it, and vice versa, right? Even though we know we have no intention of going there, we're going to use that competing offer as leverage, and we're going to get more money out of BU, or we're going to get more money out of Northeastern. And this is especially important if we're not eligible for need-based financial aid. So, Peg, let me share my screen just really quickly if I could. Thank you,
There
dear.
are tons of good questions. A lot of these I'm going to cover in a few minutes. So I've noted that to a few of you because I'll get into way more detail than I can write. So hold tight.
A couple of things for those of you that have already created your MyCap accounts. If you have it, do it right now, Peg. If you can share the link again, because we're going to tell you, here's your SAI. This is the foundation in terms of your need-based financial aid eligibility. More important, here's what you're actually going to pay at these colleges, right? Now, why am I going to pay so much more to go to Boston College than I am at Columbia when the sticker prices are almost the same next year? Well, this family has a lot of equity in their primary residence. Boston College thinks it's fair game. If your home's worth 600 and you owe 200, Boston College says that's a $400,000 checking account, basically. Whereas Columbia says, now we're not going to hold your primary residence against you. This is all baked into the algorithm, right? So I'm telling you more than you need to know, but all of that is baked into the back end. So you can see what any school is actually going to cost you. If you click into any school here, we're going to tell you, here's every single scholarship at every single college in the country, and we'll project, well, how much is your kid actually going to get at this school? Okay. You can also use this search feature to say, figure out, okay, as you class 2025 families are finalizing your list, or you 26s are just getting, getting the momentum going, which you should, by the way, now's the time. You can say, hey, I want to go see schools that are close to my house, and I prefer my students can be more comfortable in a smaller setting, and they want to major in bio or whatever. I can put in any number of search criteria, and then I can just say, rank them based on who's going to give my kid the most in scholarship dollars. Okay. And we can say, oh, all right, well, maybe Dickinson wasn't on the list, but they're going to give us 43 grand. We'll take a closer look. Wheaton's going to give us 40 grand. Maybe we'll take a tour, right? If we are eligible for financial aid, we can sort just based on that. So, nobody gets into MIT. It's impossible, but here's some other schools that are excellent with financial aid and are checking the same boxes from an admissions standpoint. So again, if you haven't got in there already, now's the time, again, regardless of where you are in the process here. Okay, so let's get into the meat of the financial aid application process itself. Why should you even care about submitting these forms?
Yeah, so tune in, everybody, because a lot of people were asking this in the Q&A. Very common question, so it's a good one.
So the first two is, again, a lot of people disqualify themselves. I talk to my neighbors. I talk to my friends. We're not going to get anything. It's a huge pain in the ass. We're not going to bother. They disqualify themselves. They leave money on the table. Don't make that mistake, okay? Some colleges require these to be eligible for merit-based aid. Some private scholarships require the FAFSA and or the CSS Profile. If you don't apply for aid freshman year, you're telling the college we're paying full sticker price for all 4 years. You don't get to change your mind in year 2 because you got a younger one or because you lost your job. They say, sorry, that's the deal. You didn't throw your hat in the ring. If you want to appeal, negotiate for more money with colleges, they're going to say, where's your financial aid applications? Let's look at those first. They're not even going to have a conversation until you've at least submitted the financial aid applications. Here's the last one that I'll spend a second on: federal direct student loans. If I complete the FAFSA, now it doesn't matter. I don't care if you're, Tom Brady, you're a billionaire. Okay. If you complete the FAFSA, your student is going to be eligible automatically. Is going to be entitled to borrow up to $27,000 via the federal direct student loan. Why do I recommend that to every single family? Number one, if you're a family that needs to borrow and or wants your kid to have some skin in the game, which we think is a great idea, you have to complete the FAFSA to be eligible for this program, and there's no better loan option available for students. They don't need a cosigner. They don't need established credit. They're not going to get a bill until 6 months after college, and they can basically make their own repayment terms. But let's say I don't care. I don't want my kid to borrow. I don't need my kid to borrow. Why do I still have you take out this student loan? Because you can pay it off for them instantaneously. No interest will accrue, and guess what? Now they'll graduate from college as a 22-year-old with established credit with about a 780 credit score. In other words, this is a program everybody can take advantage of, and there's no reason why you should not. All right, Peggy, I'm going to catch my breath now and turn it over to you.
Okay.
And keep the questions coming,
Here-
guys, but put them in the Q&A, not the chat, in the Q&A.
All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts here. So the overview of applying, and then there's so many great questions about the FAFSA and the CSS. So I'm gonna hit a lot of your answers right now as we get into this. So no two schools are alike, and almost every college in the country, one of the experts on the team corrected me a while back and said, you know what, Peg, it might have been Dan actually. Hey, not every school requires it. There's like 5 to 10 that don't. So I fixed it. Almost every college. So just assume you're submitting the FAFSA to all the schools. The CSS is submitted along with the FAFSA, not in lieu of it. Okay. So many, mostly private, and we've got a slide on the CSS in a few minutes, require the CSS along with it. There's a few schools that have their own form. That's not as common at all. Deadlines are super important, just like they are in general. Deadlines are important, right? When you're handing in papers at school, when you're applying for admission, deadlines are important. Financial aid, they're hugely important. If you turn in your financial aid forms a day late and you have eligibility for need-based aid, that can give them the opportunity to say, hey, you're in the second bucket. I've had families $10,000 less because they missed a deadline, even as an upperclassman. So stay on top of the deadlines. Make sure your kids, this is something, I'm not a helicopter parent, but I was all over my kids. What are all the deadlines for these forms? And we're going to get them in way before the first deadline so that we just don't have to worry about it. And it really is the family's responsibility. It's not the college's responsibility to reach out and say, hey, are you going to get this in? Our deadline's approaching. So you just got to be on top of that, because it could mean a lot of money being lost if you don't. All right, so let's talk about the FAFSA. A lot of great questions from all of you about this. Can I submit this now? What's going on? So last year, the FAFSA had a major revamp. So feel lucky. Maybe some of you have a current freshman in college, so you weren't lucky. But if this is your first child, you missed the crazy year. Fingers crossed this year is going to be better. So what they're doing is the FAFSA went live on October 1st, but they're doing it in 4 stages that they're calling beta stages. They just finished beta 1, and literally less than 700 students from everywhere were involved in it. You can't get in there. I've told a couple people in the Q&A already, you can't proactively apply to be in that. If there's different entities that will reach out to students and ask them to be part of beta 2. That's what we're in now. It started on October 15th. So if you get a letter like that, you can decide if you want to submit early and be part of that beta. What they're doing is they're submitting small numbers and checking the glitches with hundreds of FAFSAs instead of having tens of thousands of FAFSAs that are all having tech glitches, which is what happened last year when they went live toward the end of December. The Department of Ed is saying all families should have access to the FAFSA by December 1. We're not the Department of Ed, so I can't guarantee that. If it's going really well, maybe they'll go live a little early. We'll be all over it, so consider us the source of truth. You're in our community now. Watch your emails. We'll be all over it on social media. Everything we're learning. I'm literally watching this daily. So for right now, you can't get into the FAFSA. So you just want to sit tight. What you can do is you can get your FSA IDs. That is going to be the way that your child, and if you're working with your child, which you probably will be, you're going to log in with your child into their FAFSA with their federal student aid ID. So you need to go to studentaid.gov, and you can see the URL, but if you Google it, the first thing, create FSA IDs. Make sure you're on the studentaid.gov site and not a copy site, because you're going to put in your social security number, your date of birth, create a username and password, create security questions. Then all that information gets sent to the Social Security Administration. They're making sure you are who you are, and that can take a few days, a few business days. Just get it done now, because if you wait till the last minute and Social Security Administration is backed up, then you could have financial aid form deadlines looming and you can't get into the FAFSA. And that creates, this happened last year with some families, that creates a ton of stress. So help yourself out, do this now. So the student needs it 100%, right? Now, depending on your family structure, and there were some questions about this, that'll dictate who else needs to get it. If you are married and you file married filing jointly, so you've got one joint tax return, One parent needs to get that. You both don't need to get it. Because when you get into that FAFSA and you contribute, that's the language that Department of Ed uses, to your child's FAFSA by putting your financials on there, you are moving your income information directly from the IRS into the FAFSA. So you are consenting to do that. If you're married filing jointly, you have one tax return. So you only need one FSA ID to consent to do that. Somebody wrote in and said, well, you know what, I'll deal with that in a minute because that's not related to this. If for some reason, and I talked to a family earlier today, they're doing married filing separately. They're married, but they each file separate returns. In that situation, both parents need an FSA ID because they both have to consent to move their information into the FAFSA. That's not super typical, but if that's you, that's how it works. So the information that you're going to be providing on the FAFSA around income is all what we call prior year. So if you have a class of 2025 child, a senior, everything's going to be about the 2023 tax year. So obviously done, books are closed on that. If you have a 26, and I know some of you do based on what you put in the chat, you are in the tax year you're going to be reporting on. So keep that in mind. You don't want to artificially raise your income. Don't create a capital gain that you can avoid because then you're into appealing to the college later. So just keep that in mind for 26, 27s and younger years. So it's all about 2023. Say you've lost your job since 2023. Don't worry about it. You will still submit it with 2023 income. It will be moved into the FAFSA as I shared. Then you are going to appeal. Appealing is part of the process. We will guide you on that as well. Your child gets in, they get a financial aid award letter. We will help you understand that and best practice for appealing. Appealing is it's like applying for admission and applying for financial aid. It is a step in the process. It's not yucky or dirty or wrong. It's just part of the process. You will definitely be doing that if your current situation is not as good as your past. The prior year, 2023. Also, for all of you, once your kids are in these college years, get your tax return done ASAP. The minute you can get it done into the next new year, the better. Big thing, this last bullet, if you are divorced or separated, only the custodial parent submits the FAFSA. And the custodial parent is defined as the parent who provides the most financial support on a year look back from when you're submitting the form. So if you submit that form December 10th of this year, it's a year look back. So you've got a couple months to figure out which parent is providing the most financial support. And if you're pretty close on your support, if you can work together to figure out which parent is most advantageous to be the custodial parent, make sure that parent is providing, literally, it could be $1 more of support on that year look back. You're following the rules, you're being honest, and you're putting your best foot forward. So that's a giant planning opportunity. We work with a lot of families because parents like, what do I do? This is our situation. How can I make this work? It's better for this person to submit versus this person. One thing to keep in mind, if you're divorced and you're remarried, your new spouse's financials are part of your household. So you're going to be looked at as a couple. The other parent, if they're not remarried, won't be because there's nobody else. So keep that in mind as you're figuring this stuff out as well if you're 50-50. So that's a key thing to understand. Only the custodial parent is going to get that FSA ID because the other biological parent is not involved in the FAFSA at all. Okay, so hopefully, I know there were a bunch of questions around that. That should clear that up. If didn't, go ahead and pop more questions in there, and Dan and Matt can be watching that. So that's the FAFSA. Get your FSA IDs. That's the big takeaway right now for that. Did you want to chime in, Matt?
No, I just want to make sure we give Dan enough time. I was going to say, get it moving, sister.
Get moving. Okay. I'm moving. I only have a couple more slides. Okay.
You're not going slow. I'm just,
Yeah. The CSS profile. All right. This is that second form that I referenced. It is live now. So you don't need any special IDs to get in here. You basically use your child's college board credentials. So if they've taken AP tests, SAT, PSAT, they have that, just use that. It's their email address and their password, and just ask them. I mean, kids just have it, right? All right, so a few things about the CSS. Like I said earlier, if the school requires it, mostly private schools, there's a few publics, UNC Chapel Hill, William and Mary, UVA, UNC Chapel Hill, University of Vermont just joined the team. And there's a few others that are requiring the CSS because of the FAFSA being delayed, and they want to move things along to get financial aid award packages out to families. We're all over that. That is all reflected in our software that Matt showed you. You can go into the colleges and it'll tell you if they're a FAFSA school or an institutional school, which means the CSS. So some key differences between the FAFSA and the CSS. The FAFSA does not ask about the home you live in. So if you own your home, you have a mortgage potentially, but you own your home, you're not renting, that equity, the market value minus the mortgage, that is considered a liquid asset by a lot of the CSS profile schools. It's totally appealable. The market value of your home is a huge thing to dial in and not overvalue on the CSS profile. Very big mistake a lot of people make, overvaluing their home, but just realize that home equity, most of those schools will look at it. Not all of them, and in varying degrees. And we have that all built into our tool. Any other real estate you have, that's all on the table for the FAFSA and the CSS. I already mentioned divorce. Oh, no, I didn't mention. Divorced and separated families, both parents are going to be submitting the CSS. The custodial parent, by that federal definition that I mentioned, will be submitting the CSS with your child. The non-custodial parent will submit what's called a non-custodial profile. And they both go to College Board. The information remains private, and the colleges see both and take both into account. So just keep that in mind. There's no only non-custodial parent with the CSS profile. If there's a non-custodial parent that is off the grid or for emotional reasons that your child doesn't see their biological parent, whatever it happens to be, you can do a non-custodial waiver. There is a form, but some schools might not use that form, but it'll be similar. You have to reach out to each school individually, but if you have a good reason, it's well worth your time, because if you don't have a complete CSS profile, they won't give you the institutional aid, which is by far the biggest source of the need-based discounts that Matt talked about at the beginning. Unfortunately, if a parent just doesn't feel like paying, that's not going to get waived because they think both parents should have skin in the game. If you are a business owner, your business is on the table, the value of your business on the FAFSA, and then more in-depth questions on the CSS. Another big planning opportunity and thing to realize, don't overvalue your business. Some businesses literally have zero resale value. Others do not, of course, but some do. So don't overvalue your business. We help families with that as well. We sit down one-on-one and we hear about their business and can help you be honest and put your best foot forward on the forums, okay? CSS Profile, one of the founders at CAP, our buddy Billy Rabbit, he used to say, like, you sit down and do the FAFSA and you have a beer or a glass of wine with it. I would have an espresso martini. If you're doing the CSS Profile, which you all will start sooner, you might need a few more of whatever your drink of choice is, right? And I'm not talking to kids, no underage drinking here, but I'm kidding, but I'm kind of not. The CSS is a bear. It's long, and they really don't leave any stone unturned. But we are going to show up again. We're going to give you more tips and tricks on the CSS. Tonight, we weren't doing the whole webinar on the CSS, but that in a nutshell is how it works. You get in there and you get in with your child's login credentials, like I said. Real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dan. Just a few high-level guidelines. We're going to go more in depth on this when we do our CSS webinar later this month. In the CSS, there's a lot of required questions. You don't need to answer all of them. It's strategic. Sometimes I'll have a family answer one, sometimes not. So we're not telling you never answer any of those questions. We have to understand your situation, so you're putting your best foot forward. But you're going to notice that there's a lot of questions that don't say required. I mentioned this, don't overvalue any of your real estate. You know, you want to be honest, the colleges can look it up, but you don't want to overvalue it. If you are an owner of 529s for your kids, that is not their asset. Seems like it might be. They're the beneficiary. You are the owner. Okay. So you want to make sure that you include it correctly because kids' assets are assessed much higher than parents' assets, non-retirement assets. There's a question on the CSS that asks how much you're going to contribute to your child's education. That's a tricky one. Every parent has a question about that. That answer can really hurt you. It doesn't really help you. You want to make sure you answer that right for your family based on a lot of moving pieces. So just keep that in mind. We can help with that. Don't overestimate future income earnings. They're going to ask you about 2024, 2025, and you don't want to overestimate. My three things on the forms are don't overshare, don't overestimate, and be honest. So there's really a unique strategic way for each family to be submitting these forms. And then, as I said earlier, don't miss deadlines. That's key. So you might be wondering, I mean, a lot of you are on here, so I'm sure that, thank you for that emoji. I love emojis. So you can pop them up there anytime. You might be thinking, you know, all right, you guys are talking about financials. Why are you bringing on Dan, the admissions guru, to talk about the Common App? Admissions and financial aid are very, very much intertwined. And so he's going to give you some tips. Thank you for all the emojis. He's going to give you tips and tricks on the CSS related to financials so that you, I mean, CSS, the Common App, to make sure that you're, again, putting your best foot forward when your child's completing the Common App. So let me go forward for you here, Dan.
Thank you, Peg. Yeah, folks. So, you know, it's interesting. Whenever we think about the application, most people are just thinking about, I got to get things in there. I got to get all the factual information in there. But one of the things that you have to realize is I look at the Common Application as money. I mean, I really do. It's all about where you're going to get the money. And so one of the most important things is, for example, this very first page, Peg, if you'll hit the forward here a little bit, you know, it's all about this thing called early action. How many of you have heard about this? For those of you that are 2025s, I guarantee you that you have. But the reason that this is such a big deal is because we're also looking at the fact of you being able to submit things on time. And the vast majority of colleges that have these early action deadlines are using that to also determine scholarship eligibility. So don't miss those. I mean, if your students are on the fence right now, whether they're going to apply early action or regular decision, read the fine print because you really may run into a problem with it. Next slide, please. So this, you know, that was UMass Amherst. How about this? This is University of Louisville. And what you have to realize is down here, again, similar situation, Peg, if you will. It says down here, it offers a range of scholarships to students ranging from automatic awards to competitive awards. And what you have to know about this is an example of a school that literally you apply and then they notify you that you've got the ability to apply for scholarships. So you've got to know that there are plenty of cases where when you submit that initial application and turn it in, you're going to have the chance to be able to immediately qualify for scholarships. I'll show you in just a minute another example of that. But here's an example where you submit it and then they let you know after the fact. So here's what we're talking about. Ohio State University. You know, in the fine print, as you're working your way through this, you actually have to go ahead and decide whether a student is going to actually apply for a scholarship or not. And so what's going to happen in this particular case is that they're literally going to have this option pop up. So think about it this way. For all of you that, you know, the students are working on these applications right now, in many, many cases, they're filling out these supplemental essays, as we know, you know, why our college, why you want to study what you want to study, those types of things. But in this case, this scholarship actually has a supplemental essay that has to be completed. So you can see it's right down here at the bottom. You know, in what ways have your life experiences or endeavors prepared you to be an active moral scholar who will be a champion of OSU shared values? I mean, that's what we're talking about. And so I can tell you, here's what happens. This has happened a couple of times. Students think they've got all their supplemental essays completed, and then as they're getting ready to submit, they discover, oh my gosh, I forgot to do that scholarship essay, or I forgot to do that honors program essay. And by the way, those honor college or honors program essays, those can also lead to scholarship dollars as well. So what's my point with all of this? Make sure that you're checking every detail, because look, we're all trying to find money to help pay for college. Pegs and Matt have already been talking about all the sources, all the ways that you do it. But the Common App itself can also be a great way for you to get connected with these schools and to find additional opportunities. Okay, Peg, next. So again, just make sure that you're following this. Make sure that you're looking for these things. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's an example. Okay, you can see that by selecting the honors program here, that suddenly you're going to have some other things that are popping up. By the way, folks, just a quick thing. If you've got questions, please put them in the Q&A. Do not put them in the chat box. We're not going to get to those. We've got a ton of questions that are in the Q&A. Put those questions in the Q&A. Copy and paste them over there for us. But again, depending upon how you answer things is going to then open up additional windows. That's the surprise that happens for a lot of students, is they don't realize, wow, there's additional requirements and details that I have to come or complete to be eligible for these things. So make sure that you're doing your homework. Make sure that students are checking all of these details so that you don't miss any of the small print, as I like to say. Peg, next here. There you go. All right. And again, this is in here again as another example, same situation. I'm not sure why it's in there twice, but you get my point, right, folks? You understand that there are scholarships that we absolutely have to do additional work on. I do love those applications where the students just submit and then they're guaranteed the opportunity to get scholarships. Just know this, that with those colleges, it could be a range of scholarships that they're actually eligible to receive, meaning, could be $500 up to a full tuition scholarship, or 500 up to a full ride type of a situation. Make sure that you're checking things out. Okay, Peg. Continue. There you go.
Sorry, I'm muted there. Any closing thoughts on the Common App you want to share, Dan?
Just folks, make sure that you get them done in a timely fashion. I know there's a lot of stressors that happen with these. And by the way, don't wait until the last minute. Technology issues do happen. I've seen it before where computers crash. Maybe your own computer crashes. You weren't expecting it. Next thing you know, your Wi-Fi goes out. That happened to one of my students the other day that I was working with her essays, and all of a sudden she wasn't there. Her battery died on her. I mean, it happens. But what happens if at the school they get overloaded with the applications that are coming on? Be proactive, get things done early. I promise you will be glad that you did, and it'll take away some of the stress associated with that.
Guys, make sure you stay on, because we're going to have some some closing thoughts and then talks on next steps and how we can help you be beyond the overview tonight. But Dan, maybe you said this because I was banging away. Let's see. I think we've answered over 100 questions so far, Peg. We're doing pretty good. I think we're on like 120 or something like that.
110, baby.
But 110, there we go. Okay. So I was padding our stats a little bit. But did you talk at all, Dan, about the importance of the order in which you list your activities on the CSS profile? Because that was something that you guys taught me, that colleges can actually put stock into that I would have thought, who cares? It doesn't matter. Slap them on there and everything. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely, Matt. Yeah. No, it really does matter, because remember, these admissions people are only going to have about 8 to 10 minutes to review your entire application. So students, as you're thinking about this, what you've got to do is you've got to think from their perspective. What are they looking for at the top of the activities? Well, let's put the leadership that you've done, the community service things that you've been involved with the most. In other words, put the high profile items at the top. And granted, everybody wants to try to fill up all 10 slots. I get that. I mean, it's 10 activities that you can put, but without a doubt, make sure that you're really loaded up top with those things that you're the most proud of, and also the things that are going to catch their attention, because as they're working their way through the system, they're going to count and look at your GPA. They're going to look at your activities. They're going to read your essay, at least as much of it as they can. They're going to look at those letters of recommendation. Bottom line, we want them to have a reason to say, yes, we'd love to have you. And oh, by the way, here's some scholarship dollars to go along with it based on all your hard work.
Dan, isn't it true? Isn't it true that, I know you're saying there's 10 slots, but what they're really looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is your baby, but they're looking for a few things that kids are doing that they're really into, that they've been doing for a while, and it's their thing. I mean, and they're doing it well, and maybe they're in leadership roles in it, right? As opposed to I did 25 things, but not really deeply. I mean, is that accurate?
Absolutely. It's about quality over quantity all the time. And I say the same thing, by the way, when it comes to the essays that you write. Everyone wants to get to that word count, that magic word count. Well, if you've written a decent essay, it's all about the quality of what you put in there. So just realize again, if you in the activities, if you're doing some really great things and putting, hundreds of hours into that, it's really going to stand out that you're really dedicated to that. And it's likely going to give you some great nuggets to write about in your personal statement or the supplemental essays that you are going to have to write to finish the application process. So, yeah, do everything that you can so that at the end of the day, again, they can say and look at you and go, yeah, we'd love to have you at our school for all the right reasons.
Yeah, it's just interesting insight because, we have some folks on our team that used to work on the admission side of the fence, and they've read, Brian Ford on our team, he's read something like 80,000 college applications or something huge.
Right.
I think it's even higher than that. But, he would talk about, just like you said, Dan, he's like, I would never make it past the third activity because I have to rip through 100 and something of these a day. And just so whatever catches my eye there, and if I'm already going to know if you're captain of the football team and your essay about that and blah blah blah. So what else do you do? That's kind of your opportunity to showcase yourself there. So it's just, again, really interesting how these small things can matter, especially in this kind of hyper competitive market here. Now, I saw another kind of repeat question here. What do we think about early decision? Can we still negotiate, appeal if we go early decision? Everybody has their different talk track around that, but I think we're all pretty much on the same team here as a company here. And this is how my way of answering that question. Now, number one, the difference between early decision and early action, right? Early decision, we're signing an agreement saying if we're accepted into your college, we're withdrawing our other applications, we're going to your school. Okay, so it's a commitment to do that, right? There's an element of risk there. Whereas early action, we can still apply early, we can still find out if we got in early, but we can apply early to 20 colleges, and we're not obligated to one over the other. So for early decision, I say there's two major boxes that you have to be able to check with a lot of confidence. Number one, it's your responsibility to know how much that college is going to cost you before you've signed on that dotted line right? So that's why you make sure that you create an account with us to know if I'm going early decision to the University of Miami or Boston College or UChicago or whatever, I know about how much that offer is going to be for my family. And you have to be able to stare at that and say, you know what, we can make that work for all 4 years between multiple kids, maybe whatever. Okay. And it also has to be that for your kid, they're one of these kind of few kids that says, this is where I need to be. I had that epiphany. This is my place. I know I will thrive here. I'm all in with very little hesitation, right? If there's a lot of ambivalence with either of those, kind of two big boxes, it probably just means early decision is not the right choice at that school. But if we're checking to both of those with a lot of confidence, let's go. You have our blessing. Not that you need it, of course. So what I want to do is I just want to talk about how, for those of us, for our groupies, this, we like to take care of folks that take up live. We do special things that for our folks that show up live, that we're here, me and Dan on East Coast time. It's fairly late for us, especially we have long days this time of year when Peggy gets her day started at very, very early too out there on the West Coast. So you guys showing up gets us invigorated. I mean, we've had unbelievable amount of questions tonight, and keep them coming, by the way, right? We're gonna go right up into the end, answering as many questions as we can. But we do some special promotions just for you all. Now, there's two types of folks in my opinion in the space. There's kind of the DIYers where, like, guys, I'm all over this. Just give me the tools. I'm a parent that is just like in the weeds. I'm all good. I got it figured out. But maybe give you some tools. Then there's others that are like, Jesus, take the wheel, right? Or like, and for those families, we have what we call our wake me up when it's over packages. We've been doing this a long time as a firm, and most people work with us because of the tangible ROI, right? On average, we save families $70,000 for college, right? That is a data-driven number that we can stand tall on, and truthfully, that's a little bit conservative. Said another way, most families that choose not to work with us or navigate this process on their own or just never hear about us, whatever, they overpay for college, right? On average, about $70,000. We save our families a lot of time, right? We are the ones that are doing the legwork here. For any families that decide to opt into any of our admissions packages, the data shows 3 times more likely to get into their top choice, right? Does that mean you're going to get into Harvard if you work with us? Of course not. We're very good at maximizing what you have, of making that package as marketable as possible for your student. Okay. Now, if somebody is just interested in the financial aid and scholarship help that we offer, here's what we do. Let me talk you through it. I look at it as like 4 major parts of the process. Number 1, we're going to help you finalize your list of colleges if you're a class 2025 family. We're going to make sure that you're applying to competing colleges. We're going to make sure that you're applying to colleges that we know are going to give you massive discounts, if nothing else, to use them as a negotiating chip. If we can find that great value that's also a great fit for your kid, beautiful. Okay. That's what happens right away. We're going to make sure that if you're eligible for any financial aid, we maximize that. How do we lower this student aid index? How do we, you're divorced or separated. Which one should complete the FAFSA? Which one should complete the CSS profile? How do we value our business? How do we value our home? We do all these financial aid applications for you. We do the FAFSA. We do the CSS profile. I always equate it to like having a great CPA, right? We worry about who needs what, where, when, how, but the how's the important part. How you present your situation is going to dictate the size of your discounts. And then once we're offered into these colleges, we're going to negotiate, right? We're going to lead the charge. There is a method to the madness. We are very, very good at it. We get to leverage our kind of hive mentality here. You can go look on our website. The director of financial aid at Harvard and MIT are on our team. Those are our colleagues, right? We get to leverage their expertise. The ex-director at Denison University, at USC, current director of scholarships at University of Oklahoma, right? And professionals all around the country. So we are very good at this process, right? And then finally, once we know where we're going, we know what it's going to cost, we're very good at helping people figure out, how am I going to pay for this? Okay. Now we're only going to do 10 more families at this price, right? We're just about closed for the class 2025. Our roster's full for our kind of wake me when it's over families here. Dan's completely full from an admission standpoint, but is still taking on some financial aid clients. But if you're 2026, you can work with admissions as well. So this, I know Peggy put this link in here. You can sign up through here. This will only be good for tonight. Okay, this will expire at 12 Pacific time tonight. This is as deep as we discount, especially in our really busy season here. So if you're even thinking about it, do it tonight. Get the discount. And if you're having buyer's remorse tomorrow, you just want to talk one-on-one to gut check that it was the right decision for your family, write into College Aid Pro, support at collegeaidpro.com. Myself or one of us can talk to you to, again, make sure it's the right fit. If it's not, we'll give you a full refund. So, for example, if you didn't get to talk to your spouse tonight, but you think it's a good idea, you want to take advantage of it, lock it in tonight. If you want to pull it back tomorrow, we can do that. Or maybe your ex-spouse, maybe you're divorced or separated, you want to get it, but don't know if it's going to work for your ex. Take advantage of it, and again, you can have that back if it doesn't make sense. But act on it tonight, because we're only going to do 10. I guarantee you, it's going to sell out very soon. If you're saying I'm all good with financial aid, but I want some admissions help, okay, this is what this looks like. Generally speaking, $5,000 up to 20 hours of one-on-one admissions help. By the way, unlimited hours for our financial aid package. It's from now, regardless of what grade your student's in, until your student is moving into the dorm. Okay, everything is covered. There's no limit on hours for that. For admissions, we have to cap it at 20 hours of help, but we're going to be the ones that are going to be redlining the essay with your student. If they haven't started yet, which hopefully they have, we have to get going. So we're going to even help them with the brainstorming process if they're at kind of ground zero here. But we're going to help them with every single essay. We're going to make sure that they're crushing that Common App. Those activities are listed as strategically as they possibly can be. The supplemental applications, right? We're going to make sure that they we're helping them establish relationships within the admissions offices at these colleges. So if you need admissions help, I look at it like for the financial aid package, we're really grabbing the wheel for the parents, okay, and saying we're taking over the admissions. We're grabbing the wheel with the student, right? And really, we're the ones that are keeping that, being a task manager of sorts for that. Now, for a lot of folks, they say, well, I need help with both. My kid could use some help, and I just want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward from admissions. And I don't want to be the one looking over their shoulder. I don't want to be the one making sure, did you get this in on time? Let me grade your essay, right? But I also need financial aid help. So this is a lot of families where they say, I need help with both. Generally speaking, we charge $7,500 for this, right? It's $1,500 off. Again, for the first 10 people that opt in tonight. Obviously, it's a lot of money, right? It's not for everybody. And some folks are just DIYers, you know who you are. But for those of you that want more help and are just don't want to leave money on the table and don't want to, risk not putting your best foot forward here, don't overthink this one, okay?
Let me just chime in because we had some question like we always do with twins, how it works. So with the financial, we give a really nice discount. What is it, Matt? Is it
It's only
1,000 or
500
500?
bucks more. It's only
Yeah,
500.
because your financials are the same, and so we give a really nice discount. On the admission side, as Dan would chime in, you have two different kids. My kids were dramatically different lists, different majors. So that our expert that's going to work with them wants to put in all that time. So that one we don't really discount because they're working with your child. But for the financial lock in, just lock in with the coupon tonight, like Matt's saying, and then write into support@collegeapro.com and we'll get you taken care of for your second child.
Exactly. So you'd pay for the one tonight, and then as we onboard you, we'll invoice you 500 bucks more for the second one. But to Peg's point, we really can't discount admissions because even though they're twins, we don't save any kind of sweat equity in the same way we do two different kids for admissions, but for financial aid, one household, right? So we can be a lot more efficient there. The other thing I'll just share with you quickly, and Peggy, if you could share this page if you didn't already. So
Sure.
you see our packages and our discounts that expire tonight here, and make sure you opt in because I can already see that we've got a handful already off the big board here. But if you just know you're a DIYer, join our club. Okay, join our club. We'll share this link here. It's 25 bucks to get started. You get full access to our software, right? So you'll get full access to the software. On the free version of the platform, you can only put in 3 schools. You can't use this advanced search feature that I showed you earlier that helps you research based on who's going to give you the most financial aid, who's going to give you the most scholarships. And if you go to look on our website right now, it's $149 to get on the premium version. So through this link that we're going to share here, again, for the DIYers, get on there for 25 bucks. It gets you full access to the software and a bunch more other stuff. For example, we have member-only office hours every other Monday, member-only workshops every other Thursday, and some interesting, great other benefits in there too, which again, you can go check out yourself. And that is something that again you won't find on our website or anything like that. This is just for folks that are showing up live here. But yeah, this is hopefully it gives you a decent overview here. We'll stay on for a few more questions if you have some particular ones as it pertains to our services or the process. I see one here that says, okay, I just signed up. What's next? You're going to hear from Jackie or Lisa in our office tomorrow. They're going to say, here's what we need from you. 75% of it will be on your tax returns, right? And then here's the other checklist information. And then we'll get you set up with your pro and get your first meeting on the books with them next week. Obviously, it's now or never. Like I said, we're for the class 2025. We're closing, so to speak. Underclassmen, we can take you on, no problem. But again, this promotion will go
Yeah,
away.
I just put the link in again to the original PDF because people were asking about how to sign up for the financial. So it's right at the bottom of the chat. So you just
Oh yeah,
click on that.
let me just walk you through that first. So if you go to sign up here, let's see, I can go to our one-time payment here. I pay, and then when I select that, I make sure you put in the
Yeah,
coupon.
don't forget the promo code.
And you should see the whatever $700 apply there, and boom, as soon as you pay, that will trigger our system to get you guys on board. And like I said, you'll hear from our humans tomorrow. Let me just go through
Yeah,
here.
let me just see if The club, so if you have twins with the club, you're going to do it with one email address and go in. So you can't put two kids in there. You have unlimited schools, so you can put all the schools in, but they're going to have different GPAs and test scores. So that's how it works. To
And
sign
then
up for the financial aid package.
yeah,
Yeah.
the financial aid package, guys, if you're looking for the financial aid package, you want to go, and again, I'll share this link in my screen. Okay, so for the financial aid package, assuming it is this link here that we'll grab and put in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, people are having problems with the QR code, so yeah.
You can write into
Financial.
support at collegeaidpro.com if you're doing that, but you can also click on the link, right? So if the QR code isn't working, you can just click on this link below the QR code. It seems to be working for me at the moment. Let me see if the QR code works for me. Try, Peggy.
Yeah, let me try it. Hold on.
And then if not, if you're having tech issues, write into support at collegeaidpro.com, and I don't think it's working for me either.
It's not opening. Maybe it's just, oh no, I got it.
I think I did too. It's taken longer than normal for me. You know, I probably
Yeah,
have
it
like,
just took a few minutes to load.
but if you, yeah, mine did work, and again, same thing. It took a few minutes to load, and yeah, you can
But
decide
if you do it through the QR code, you have to hit pay, and then the next page, it'll say add code. Don't worry. You're going to be able to add your code, but it's on the second page, and it'll be right there. It's very obvious. Just don't forget to put in OCT, October 20 in there to get your discount.
And Dan, if you got other meetings tonight, buddy, or you need to go get your rest, you go get your rest, brother. I know we got you working overtime here, and we'll just stay on for 2 more minutes as people try to
Yeah, and
navigate.
if the admissions sounds good to you and you have a 2026, Dan loves the 2026s. He can't take any more 2025.
All right.
So
I do love the 2026s.
he'll be your guy. That makes it less stressful. You can get in there and, he can start working with your child one-on-one during their junior. That's really when, these guys want to be working with your kids, not total last minute. So, but we have a few other openings, but yeah, don't think it's too soon is my point. If you have a 26 or 27, right, Dan?
Right. That's exactly right. Happy to talk to you because we got plenty of time. In fact, honestly, the sooner you start, the better, because there are only certain strategies and techniques that you can do by starting early with your student to help position them for the best opportunities out there. So don't wait. I promise you that you'll get around to it and you'll go, man, I wish I had taken them up on that offer.
Yeah, and guys, yeah, to be clear, if you're going the DIY route, it's $25 to get in there, right? And then it's $9.99 a month after that, right? And cancel anytime, whatever. But that is the after the first month, it's $10, $9.99 a month.
Yeah, and that's full access to, our premium software.
Right.
And you just pay monthly. You can put in unlimited schools, advanced search, like Matt showed you.
Yep, those are for the DIYers of the world, and you know who you are.
Yeah, I just emailed somebody back. If you're having continual tech issues to sign up, just email us. We'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. Because I see them coming in, so I know it is working for people, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, if you're having trouble, we'll get you in there. It looks like we got 2 more. So all right, Peggy. Well, I think we got to most of these that are just kind of inquiring about our
Yeah, and again, we knew we couldn't get to everybody. We love big crowds and we love people that have so many questions. So
great crowd tonight. Exactly.
yeah. Stay tuned. Let us support you in whatever way lands for you. But please just keep the ball rolling. Don't pop it over on a pile and get back to your crazy busy life, because it's going to rear its ugly head and it just causes things to be way more stressful.
And just remember, guys, this is your source of truth, right? Not everybody's going to sign up for a Wake Me Up when it's over package. Not everybody's is going to feel comfortable, joining the club. But follow us for our free resources. I think the most free resources out there. We will continue to educate you. Like Peggy said, we'll be back here in 2 weeks to get really in depth with the CSS profile. Again, put us to the test. We're the source of truth. Actually, you'll probably see some of this out there on social media, but Duke University this week changed their net price calculator because we told them they had it wrong and we had it right. Okay. And that's just an anecdote for a pretty good university that their own net price calculator was way off and ours was projecting much more accurate than there was. So that's one anecdote.
And kudos to Duke for answering our calls and caring. So that's give them, I don't always do that to the brand schools, but they stepped up. They stepped
That's
up,
a compliment
they
to
fixed
them.
it, but we've got it dialed in. We've got a team of experts with decades and decades of experience, and we've been around the block. So please let us support you. We'll make your life a lot easier. So on that note, we will let everybody go. We will see you next time.
Everybody.
And welcome to the newbies.
Good night,
And,
Lila. Yes. And
All right,
thanks,
everybody.
thanks, Dan. Thanks,
everybody
Peggy.
have a great
Yep,
night.
good to see you guys.
Look at those emojis for you, Peggy. Just for you, babes.
I love
Yes,
it.
it is.
I got
Bye-bye, everybody.